Welcome to the Women in Wealth podcast, brought to you by Regina McCann HESS, a certified financial planner with over 2 decades of experience. This show is for professional women who want guidance in working towards their retirement vision in learning, building, planning, striving for your dreams, and putting the work in now so that you can pursue your financial independence. Hello, I'm Regina McCann HESS, president of Forge Wealth Management, and welcome to our Women in Wealth series. Today, I have a new friend with me. And Mihika, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love about what you do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on here, Regina. I'm very excited to be here with you. And so for your audience, I just wanted to share. My name is Mihika Patel. I am the founder of One Mighty Mama, and I am a personal coach and public speaker. And my journey has been, quite the ups and downs. But what I truly love about what I do right now is I get to build connections and deepen relationships with women and help them unlock the mightiness that's inside of them. We all have it, but many times it starts, becoming dormant under the pressures of societal expectations, gender norms, season of life, all these different circumstances. They bear a toll on us, and it's that that unspoken, unseen burden that we're all carrying. And I myself went through this particular season of life, 10, 15 years ago, and I found it very difficult for myself to function. And so for me, I put in the work. It took a lot of years, a lot of discipline, a lot of intention. But what I strive to do is help my clients achieve that same objective, right? Feeling true to themselves, unlocking that inner strength, if you will, and without having to take all those years, doing it a little bit faster and a little bit more efficiently than how I had done it. But it's the journey that I took, and I love sharing it with other women.
Oh, that's amazing. And there's not many people who focus on moms the way you do.
No, no. And there's a specific reason for motherhood. I find the reason why I like to focus on motherhood, and it's a loose definition, right? Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily, children that you've birthed biologically. It could be adoptive care, foster care, even pets, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not who you're parenting so much as it's that feeling, that emotion that it invokes within you.
Yeah.
Um, and I find that when you have that emotion within you, there are very few barriers. Things that I do for my kids, I would never have done for myself growing up. Whether it's like, oh, mom, there's a spider in my room. I'm like, I'm sorry. The 20-year-old
Not my
version of
problem.
yeah, exactly. Be like, find someone else because there's no way I'm touching that. Now I'm like, I don't know where this strength comes from. I'm like, okay, here we go. And there goes the spider.
Yeah.
And my husband cracks up all the time. He's like, you would never have done that. I'm like, I know, only for the kids. That is the only time that that type of strength just comes out. But it goes to show, and I think we all have experiences like that, things that we would never otherwise do, but that we do for our children. And it's that strength, it's that motivation and then if you can channel that into improving yourself. And that
Yeah.
is like to draw out of my clients when I work with them.
And I find, at least for myself as a mom, I feel like, and I think a lot of women do this, is that we give all of ourselves to being a mom and to our kids, and there's nothing left over for ourselves, not emotionally, financially,
Oh,
physically, like name it all. We're like, we're done, we're exhausted. So I think what you're doing is trying to refocus back on, like, hey, don't forget about yourself. Like, let's work on you. So elaborate on that a little bit.
so I like to think of it as an Alka-Seltzer tab. This is how it makes sense in my head, where, when we enter motherhood, we're the Alka-Seltzer tab and we get dropped into this glass of water. Then what happens? There's that effervescence, right? That bubbly sensation. It lasts for maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds, 40 seconds, which is like the initial phases of motherhood where, there's so much activity and so much excitement. You're literally bubbling with it. But over the years, you start dissolving, right? And then you can't see a difference between you as an individual and you as a mother. And like you said, you kind of lose sight of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And The problem with this is, I mean, of course, motherhood is always a number one priority. I mean, even today, my daughter is homesick. And so I
Oh.
had to reshuffle a few things with my calendar, a few in-person meetings I've shifted either to a different day or just turned them into a virtual. But there are a lot of, things that we do for our kids because it's such a high priority. I'm not just going to be like, okay, well, good luck, I gotta go. You fend for yourself. But the problem becomes one day our kids are going to grow up, right? And one day they're not going to need you for all their physical survival needs like they do in their earlier years, or they'll still need you for the emotional stuff, but it won't be as much as often, it won't be such a demand on your time day to day. And so, what about then? Like, a lot of the women I talk to, they're like, I don't even know what my hobbies are anymore because I've
Mm.
like not given them a thought in the last, 18 years until,
Yeah,
and it's a scary thought to think even something as simple and basic as a hobby, like for me, that was reading. And I used
right.
to be avid reader, and it took me, I think, until my younger one was 5, for me to kind of get back into the swing of things and like enjoy reading for reading, not reading for school or reading for work or things like that. Um, but it becomes a real issue once motherhood has kind of, lessened its, existence in your life, right? Like the kids are out of the home, maybe they don't need you as much as often. You need to have something to fall back on. And many times that's when women struggle the most because they haven't invested in themselves in seeing, hey, what is it that, invested in their own hobbies and their own likes and preferences. And many times what ends up happening is then they kind of try to overbearingly have a larger presence in their kids' lives, which the kids may or may not like. Um, so I always try to guide my clients away from that. And I'm like, well, take some time for you. It'll help you have a more loving relationship with your kids and have a more loving relationship with your partner.
Hmm.
Um, right? Because sometimes we tend to forget that part too. So by no means I'm not like a dating therapist or anything, but I like to just throw that smidgen of a thought in there. Like, don't forget about your partner. They're
Yeah,
good
no,
too.
it is true. I mean, I know when our kids were younger, they went everywhere with us. We never, like to the point where one time we were going to go to someone's house for like an adult happy hour or something like that. And they were mad. They're like, well, we've been there before. How come we're not invited? And I was like, well, you're
Oh, the
not.
kids were mad. Oh
The
yeah,
kids were
yeah.
mad. Like,
How
I'm
dare
like,
you?
yeah. I'm like, okay, so that was a light bulb for me. I'm like, okay, we need to do things without them from now on. Like, we have to like break this a little bit. Like, it was kind of comical at the time.
But you bring up a good point because initially it's such a like there's so much resistance to it, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, how dare you do something for yourself that doesn't involve us?
Yeah.
But I think if we start normalizing it, like, little steps here and there, it eventually will become like, okay, not
Yeah.
even not even a second thought. Okay, have fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Enjoy
yeah,
your,
and
enjoy your night out, mom.
it happens whether or not you plan it, want it or not, because once they get to a certain teenage year, they're like, yeah, I ain't hanging with them.
Right? Yeah, that's true. That is true. There's the flip side right there.
They come back though. They come back.
The hope.
So, I love your message on your website about your morning routine. Share a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh, my morning routine is something that I hold so sacred because, and this is part of that, that disciplined, intentional work that I had to put in when I was struggling. Because I think there's just a lot of misconceptions first and foremost about morning routines, right? And I think social media has a lot to blame for it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
really glossy videos of like, overly produced, that take like 45 minutes or an hour. And I was like, who's got time for that? Like I certainly.
Mm-mm.
And so for me, it was very black or white. Like either I do all of it or I do none of it, without realizing that I could take elements of it. And I learned over time that if I can protect the first 10 minutes of my morning, just 10 minutes, right? Which I get in different seasons of life that may or may not always be possible. But the whole idea is not perfection, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
progress.
Mm-hmm.
If in the beginning you can make it happen once a week, then do it once a week. And
Yeah.
then, even if that period takes several weeks, several months for you to build up to twice a week, 3 times a week, None of this is overnight. And this is what I stress to all my clients that any habit that you pick up, right? Make it small.
Yeah.
Like don't try to revolutionize your entire schedule in one day because I guarantee you if it works for you on your best day, it probably is not going to work for you on your worst day. And you need to pick a routine that is going to work for you even on your worst day. Like
Hmm.
even if it's like a drilled down or a dumbed down version of it that you use on your worst day. But if you can protect that first 10 minutes, so my 10 minutes of the first 10 minutes of my day look something like this. I'll start off with some morning affirmations. And I just keep a voice memo on my phone because many times I'm on the go. As soon as I get up, I'll like drink some water, get my protein coffee ready, and then I go out for a walk or I go for a workout. But I will keep my AirPods in and I will listen to my positive affirmations. I used to think that you had to write down your positive affirmations, and for years that's what I had done. But that kind of requires few requirements, right? You have to be tethered to one spot. You have to be writing. You have to have the lights on. So my husband wakes up a little bit later, so he gets annoyed if I have the lights on at like 4:45 in the morning. He's like, I still need some beauty rest.
Hmm.
So it requires a few different things, but I found if I can just pivot a little bit, turn it into a voice memo. So I listen to my positive affirmations. I do a little bit of gratitude exercise, just thinking, hey, what am I grateful for today? And sometimes I'll do that at night, and sometimes I'll do it in the morning. And then I do a little bit of my spiritual reading. And again, I record things on my phone so that I can come back to it and listen to it on the go. And then lastly, I try to just get a little bit of movement in, get a little bit of the blood flowing, some light stretching, nothing crazy. But I find that all these things really help me. And it's like an a la carte menu, right? There's a few things that are always there, but then there's a few items that I can pick and choose given the day, given how I'm feeling. If I'm really in a rush, I'll just skip the stretching and I will, just do the stuff on my phone that I can listen to. Sometimes I'll feel like, hey, I just want to listen to those affirmations a few more times. And other times I'm like, I can listen to them once and carry on. But I like to work with my clients and help them create that perfect morning routine that works for them. I also create mind movies, which is a really fun part, a new addition to my morning routine. And it almost becomes like a multimedia experience. It's like just writing your affirmations or listening to your affirmations, you actually see your affirmations coming to life. And what I mean by that is I create videos. So I will pull video clips that represent what your positive affirmation is saying, and then I will overlay it with audio that says your positive affirmation.
Oh,
So
I
many
like that.
yeah, it's been a game changer. I will say that because it's almost like putting in like that visualization manifestation instead of visualizing just up here, which a lot of people tend to struggle with.
Hmm.
It creates something for you to look at, to
Yeah, no,
visualize.
that's pretty brilliant. I like that. It's
One for you.
yeah, it's audio and visual. So two of your sensories, your ears and your eyes, affirm it at the same time, or close to the same time,
Yeah.
and that's going to help for you to retain it and live it a little bit.
Exactly. And it gives you that motivation to say,
Hmm.
okay, you know what, even when things get tough, like I have this vivid image in
Hmm.
my mind that
Right.
pushes me on the days when maybe I don't feel like doing the
Yeah.
things that are required, right?
Yeah, no, agreed, agreed. So if people want to learn more about you and your business, where do they go to find out that information?
There's a lot of places you can connect with me. On social media, I have a heavy presence on LinkedIn as well as Instagram. So on LinkedIn, you can find me at Mihika Patel. On Instagram, I'm at One Mighty Mama with the number one underscore. And my website, of course, www.onemightymama.com. Again, the number one. And yeah, I would love to have a special connection with your listeners, with your audience. And I also have a special gift, so I can send you a link to that if that's something that you would like to share.
Oh,
It's
okay.
it's what I like to call an empowerment toolkit. It's kind of your on the go empowerment for when you're not quite not quite able to sit in one place, or maybe you're in the car. I usually have a copy of it here at my in my desk in my office, but I've been moving back and forth since my daughter wasn't
All
feeling well. So
good.
I'm pretty sure it's upstairs. But it's a printout that you can fold into fours. So it's small enough to keep even in your tiniest of handbags. And it's a place where you can write your positive affirmations, you can write some goals that you're working on, and a couple actions that you can put into effect today to start working on those goals.
Oh, sounds awesome.
Sometimes you need
Very
a
cool.
reminder, even when you're on the
Yeah.
go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, those are helpful. So tell us about any challenges that you have faced as a professional woman.
Ooh, so
Mm,
I spent 16 years working in corporate,
hmm.
in most of it in the world of internal audit. And internal audit they're not the most loved people in the world.
What?
I'm trying to think, how can I word this nicely? But yeah, when people hear, and at first I didn't quite get it when I first joined the audit team in my first company, and when I told people, yeah, I made a big move. I'm in internal audit now, and they just looked at me, and I'm like, I don't follow. Like, what's that? What's that look? And they're like, we don't really like the auditors.
They're like the police.
Exactly, exactly. And I didn't quite realize that,
Yeah.
which was, just the naiveness and, being so young in my career. But and that's not who I am as a person, right? I
Yeah.
like to be very likable and, some shades of people pleasing involved in there too. So for me to be in a position that people don't even like me without even getting to know me was a
Yeah.
bitter pill to swallow. But I made it my mission to be the likable auditor. And
There you
that's kind
go.
of the reputation that I would try to build. And so I would work, the first part of the job is always, hey, build the connection, develop the relationship. The second part was where you deliver the bad news. So that was where I experienced most of my struggles and my
Hmm.
challenges. So I had my job, right, which was I have to let you know what you've done wrong, right? I have to police you. But then I would try to spin it a little bit and say, hey, you know what? This is a problem that you guys have been struggling with for a long time. Now, sure, of course, I have to police you and, write you up in my report, which is then going to go to like all senior levels of the company, but it'll get eyes on that problem that you're having. And then we can work to find a solution because maybe there's, another department within the same organization who's had a similar problem and they have a solution already. Being an audit, you kind of have that like 10,000-foot
Yeah.
view of the
Hmm.
company, of not just the silos that these departments live in, but a much more wider view. And so it helps us to even say, hey, you know what? This sounds familiar. We've done this before. We've like seen this challenge elsewhere. This is how they solved it. Perhaps that solution could work for you. And so that's how I try to spin it to become the likable auditor. Like, sure, I'm going to have to write you up, but I'm hoping that in the process of doing that, I can help you find a solution that, you can live with and leave the department in a nicer way, in a more efficient way than when I arrived.
That's fantastic. I know our internal audit, we call them compliance, and I will say that our compliance is fantastic to work with. They basically make you feel like they're teaming up with you. And yeah, there's times when they're like, "Hey, you can't do that. You got to fix this, you got to fix that." But they're also looking out for me to make sure I don't get in trouble. So, I love that you have that approach instead of the, "Ooh, look at the power."
Yes, like
Um,
how can I screw up your day
yeah, yeah.
today?
Ooh.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, no, I love that, and I agree. Like, it can be done well, but also personally and friendly. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been my
Indeed.
experience where I have my compliance now. They're very friendly and they work together and try to get it done. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was challenging because obviously I didn't do that right off the, right
Right,
out the
right.
gate, but it took
Yeah.
me a couple years to kind of hone that in myself.
Awesome. 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 So let's go into the time machine and tell me,
Okay.
what would your vision of retirement look like?
Ooh, we're going forward. Okay, okay. I'm gonna
Yes.
go back in time. Oh my. Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts about retirement. Not so much the nitty-gritty of what I'll be doing, but I want that flexibility. And what I would absolutely love is to live in like Europe for
Mm.
a couple months.
Mhm.
So a few years ago, I read the book, The 4 Hour Work Week.
Oh, yeah. I've read that.
Paris, yes. And he talks about how he likes to, when we think of vacation, we're like, oh, we'll spend a week in Italy or, a week touring Europe or whatever, right? Like a week, maybe 2 weeks if we're getting real
Mhm.
fancy. But he's like, what, 2 weeks? Like you can't even like get to know the culture. And he talks about how he would spend like months. And I'm like, I would love to be in that season of life, maybe not several months, maybe like 1 month, but
Mhm.
like actually be able to like just immerse myself in the culture of that country or of that city
Mhm.
and like live like a local. Something about that just it's been with me for so long. I mean, I read this book, gosh, like 8, 9 years ago, and it has not left me.
Mhm.
That is something that I would truly love to do. I know I don't know where,
Yeah.
but maybe it could be a different place once a year, twice, once every 2 years or something. But I think I would like to create that flexibility that would allow me to do something like that,
Ah,
where my husband and I
yes.
could just get away and then maybe we could invite some friends to join us for like a week, here and there. But just that flexibility to travel and, just see the world.
I
It's
love
not
it.
something that I have done as much of as I would like, but I would love to do that. That would be like the cornerstone of my retirement.
Yeah, I have a client who is retired, has been retired for several years. Her and her friends rent villas in Italy, different parts of Italy, and stay there for, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks,
Oh my
every
God.
year. And they just go and see different things and they absolutely immerse in the culture. So I always tell her, I'm like, okay, you are my model for retirement. I love what
Yes.
you do. It's so
Oh,
amazing.
that sounds lovely. Oh my goodness.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, so cool. So cool. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me. And I love your story. I love what you're doing. And I love that you're helping other mamas, other
Yes.
mighty mamas out
Mighty
there.
Mama.
And I'm going to say our action item is I think, taking that 10 minutes to yourself in the morning and setting the tone for your day. I need to do that myself. So I think that's going to be our action item.
Yes, yes. And I would love to hear, do it for like a week or two and let's talk. I want to see what types of differences you feel
Yeah,
because
no,
I
good.
guarantee you it's gonna, yeah, it's been such a game changer for me.
Awesome, awesome. Well, good plan, good plan. Well, so thank
Much
you.
for
And I want to
having me.
thank, yeah, absolutely. And thanks everyone else for joining us. Again, I'm Regina McCann Hess, president of Forge Wealth Management. My website is forgewealth.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Forge Wealth, and LinkedIn, Regina McCann Hess. Go make it a great day. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Women in Wealth podcast. You can watch the founder's video I created for you to learn more about me and how I can guide you towards your financial independence at www.forgewealth.com. The information in this podcast is educational and general in nature and does not take into consideration the listener's personal circumstances. Therefore, it is not intended to be a substitute for specific, individualized financial, legal, or tax advice. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a final decision. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, and SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and Forge Wealth Management are separate entities from the LPL Financial. Our show guests and their companies are not affiliated with nor endorsed by LPL Financial, Private Advisor Group, or Forge Wealth Management.